All right. So I always say this, but I'm not sure how long we're going to get this. Like, I don't know if we're going to get an hour out of this one,
All
but
right.
it's something that we've talked about. No, it's something we talked about. I swear you just brought it up randomly. And this is my memory of it. We're just talking
Yeah.
about fishing,
Yep.
doing everything. And you're like, did you know invasive smallmouth is a thing? Like, did you know smallmouth are invasive? Because, well, that's my memory. Do you have any memory of that?
Dude, I have a memory of like the opposite,
Oh, okay.
where like you brought it up for some reason, but like I had also heard it recently,
Oh,
and
okay.
then we were
Mm-hmm.
both kind of just like, yeah, that's a thing or whatever. And now I don't
Right.
remember it at all, but I remember
That's funny.
hearing
Well,
about it.
it's a great way that you brought it up though, because I was going to say, I always talk about invasive species and you're always like, oh yeah, that thing. And you like, I think we have very similar, if not almost exactly the same views on invasive species and like,
Yeah.
trying to, whatever needs to be done. So first off, that's funny that we each have that, like,
Right.
because I
You said it.
usually am the
No,
one
I
who
said-
brings it
no,
up
you
and
said-
says like,
yeah.
the whole, but I thought you did,
Was it
but you,
me? No.
oh, it was me.
Who did?
But yeah, I always bring them up. And so, it's one of these situations where usually, we get into it with, as we kind of go over the species, right? Like you would think, oh, okay, we'd do the smallmouth podcast, and then this would be part of it. But this was such a weird topic. I wrote it down. I was like, we're going to spin this one off into a full topic. And here's the one. Well, here you can already hear it in our voices.
Yeah.
You can already hear from the stories that we've been telling is like invasive smallmouth. What the fuck are you talking about?
For real. What the shit are you talking about? You talking about those couple that got into my lake and they're not supposed to be there?
Please tell that story though.
Those sneaky fuckers. So in my lake, I fished this lake ever since I was a kid, and there's not supposed to be any smallmouth on it. And
hold on one second. This lake has no inlet or outlet. Like,
no
it's a natural
inlet or outlet. Yes.
Yeah. So it's not connected to moving water.
There's no rivers, no streams,
because
no
that'll come
nothing.
into play
Yep.
later.
Yep. So never caught a smallmouth once, ever. Never seen one. And then
In this
one
lake.
year
You had caught them prior, right? Like in
oh
other
yes.
lakes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So like,
I didn't know how far back we were going. That's all.
No. I've been catching them on the Mississippi for a while. So
Yeah.
I go on the dock. It's early, like before fishing opener and everything else. And I grabbed the Aquaview camera because my dad had one. He still has one, but it's like old. It's like black and white. You can't really see. The picture's not great. It's a fine picture, but I look at it and the fish that I see underneath there. Now, mind you, there's not supposed to be smallmouth on this lake, and I've never seen a smallmouth on this lake. So just based off of what I'm seeing, I'm like, is that a fucking rock bass? Like, I probably could have identified it as a smallmouth if ever there was a reason to think that could have been a smallmouth. But I never thought it was one. And we had crappie minnows because we had, early in the year, that's what you can fish for. That's what we had. So I put on a crappie minnow and I'm like, I got to have this thing bite on. I also didn't think that it looked that big. I was like, that's like a 2-pound smallmouth or like a rock bass.
Rock bass, yeah.
And it eats it and I'm fighting it. And it's not really fighting that hard, but it's able to pull out line. And I'm like, damn, this thing's fighting. And I get a look at it. I'm like, is that a fucking smallmouth? Once I get it closer, I land this fish and it is a 5-pound smallmouth.
God damn. It's not, see, I forget that detail.
Yeah, it's not just a smallmouth. It is the biggest smallmouth I have ever caught. And I'm like,
Damn,
where the
dude.
fuck did this come from? So my theory actually is that Lund takes photos on that
Yep.
lake.
Yep.
And I think some of them, they want to have fish in the picture. And I don't know if they just have some already in captivity, because you can't be catching bass that time of year. And I don't know, maybe you could have like a special press permit or something where they're like, we
Right.
need to get one for a picture. And they're like, proceed. I don't know. but so my theory is that they were trying to hold one up for a photo and just be like, yeah, put the net underneath it. And then act like you got one, and then kind of like look at each other like, oh my God, I can't believe I got this fish. And then a 5-pound smallmouth is like doing smallmouth things and just goes, fuck you guys. And flies
I'm out of this motherfucker.
I'm out, bitch. I've been stuck in that fish tank for too long. Yeah. Just gone.
And it shakes its way into the water.
Right. So never caught any before that. Then I caught that one. Then like a year goes by, I'm fishing in summer, and I'm using like this little Ned rig with this tiny little like 3-inch worm with an orange tail, and I'm just kind of like tossing it by docks. It's like no wind, bright sun. So kind of like a finesse type day, and I'm just kind of like working this around. And I don't know if it's the same fish, but it is a fish that is the exact same size, and it's a smallmouth, and it comes out and it hits it and it runs in. And this time I identified it immediately, and my wife was there, and I go, oh my God, it's a fucking monster smallmouth. It's a monster smallmouth. And I'm just telling my wife, I'm like, can you even believe this? As I'm fighting it, I'm like, look at this fish in case it gets off. This is nuts. And I landed it, and I'm just like, holy shit, I can't believe it. And so that was nuts. But now, periodically, so maybe there was a second one or whatever. I don't know. Maybe happy accident. Maybe they didn't say they were stocking it with smallmouth because they didn't want to piss people off. So they threw a couple in. But now I do catch small ones every once in a while, and I do see them when I'm fishing in the shallows. Sometimes I'll cast and I won't catch them. That's kind of a thing that bugs me, but also it's cool that you see it because you like make a couple of casts and then you drive a little bit further and then you see like a decent smallmouth sitting right there, and you're like, I casted right by you, dude. Why don't you want what I'm throwing? I thought I was using the lure that you would want today, and clearly you didn't want it. You were right here. You had to have seen it. I know you saw it. I know you saw me, dude.
I know you saw me. Damn it.
But yeah, anyway, so I catch those little fish every once in a while. I catch smallmouth on the regular. And
You've seen them?
After that first fish, I emailed the DNR. And they were literally like, probably by the help of some angler. Like, they didn't seem like, obviously, I wasn't trying to get it to stop or whatever. I was just like, hey, weird catch. You ever seen anything like this? Like,
right.
It's literally not.
Because so to just like lay the land, you said there's no smallmouth in that lake. It's because like it's the DNR has it registered that there's no smallmouth.
It doesn't
in that lake.
When you read the species in that lake, it did not say smallmouth. But I think it does now. Actually, I think it does say it. It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't show like there's a number, but I think they're actually listed. Like, they do catch them. You know, I think they probably do their netting, and they get like one, and they're like, didn't think these were in here. Put it in the book,
right?
You know,
right? Yeah,
yeah. So,
but you were doing it before it was in, and that's why you emailed them, because you're like, hey, just saying.
Yep. And I've caught a couple of them, and the weird thing is that the smallmouth, which again, I've talked about it before, and other people are just like, I can't believe you eat bass. Like, sometimes, and I never ate a smallmouth. So I was like, let me see what this is all about. I caught like a decent sized one after catching like 3 or 4, you know, not the same day, But I was like, all right,
3 or
there
4
seems
total
to,
as
yeah.
you.
So I
Yeah,
was like,
I
there seems
gotcha.
to be, the numbers are getting up a little bit. And I was like, let me try to eat one of these guys. Freaking parasites like a rock bass has. So I'm like, not only do they
Oh,
look kind of like rock bass, but they have parasites like rock bass. So I was like, that's just weird. So
huh.
I just like, sorry for killing you. I
Right. I didn't know till I
Yeah,
cut you open
wish I
that you
could have
fucking were
learned.
full of
Yeah,
shit.
wish I could have learned you were like a diseased fish beforehand. Maybe that's why you're so pissed off all the time. But I've heard that like cold water, uh, like smallmouth on cold water are supposed to be really good eating fish. So
Oh,
that's why I was like, oh, let me try one.
yeah.
So I don't
Right.
know. I've also
Eh,
heard that if you cook a fish thoroughly, that technically it doesn't matter if it has parasites because you're
Right.
killing everything anyways.
Right.
But
Yep. Yep.
that still wears me out.
But if you can like see them and shit, like except for those little black dots, we've cooked those before. Those are
Oh
parasites,
yeah, they are parasites, and I've been
but they're
eating
small.
those my whole life because my parents always told me they were iron deposits.
Right.
Then I learned out later that they were parasites. My dad was just like, what am I supposed to do? Tell you it's parasites?"
Yeah, Dad,
Yeah, you're
you
fine.
are.
You're fine. You wouldn't have ate it if I said it was if I said it was anything but iron deposits. But yeah, they're so small that they're literally just black dots. So that doesn't weird me out. But if it looks like a worm,
Yeah.
oh
Right.
no, no.
Yeah. No, that fucking freaks me out
Yeah,
too.
I'm not eating that shit.
You're hitting on so many things about the invasive smallmouth that are just like they're hitting with what I'm reading, and I go, damn, this is
Yeah.
great. You are making such good points. Everything you're saying is going to come back up again here.
All right.
Not everything you're saying, but so much of what you're saying is going to come up again. Because so I started my search, right?
Yeah.
And the internet is full of the Grand Canyon is in trouble.
Really?
Smallmouth everywhere. Not everywhere. They're not really. But it really, really focuses the entire internet. Multiple sources read multiple
Really?
things and I'll shout out Outdoor Life and Wired for
Yeah.
this. Which also I just quick thing on Wired is I was aware of Wired. I had seen a lot of video game stuff there, a lot of tech things come from there, and then I found out like Wired's actually just like kind of out there doing everything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh damn, okay, go Wired. But I found a bunch of stuff, and it was really, really focused on the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Like there was this one paper from Arizona that wrote a story about it too, and it's still invasive in a lot of the western part of the country, but
Okay.
it is not invasive to us, Tim, and that's why we've always been like,
yes.
what the fuck? Like, what are they talking about? Because smallies are native to the Great Lakes, Ohio River, and the natural spread of that, the Mississippi, and things like that. So they're like really, if you're a Great Lake state touching it,
Sure.
you got smallmouth. If you got rivers in your state, in your Great Lake state, which they all do, you got smallmouth.
Yeah.
That's all natural. And then they go south pretty far, but like almost they touch Alabama just a tiny little bit in the north.
Yeah.
They get into Arkansas, but they kind of stop at Arkansas. So like they don't even go that far south, like
Yeah.
when like watching bass, right? Like watching the Elite Series.
Yep.
All those big tournaments in the beginning, they're all like it's like Florida or Texas or South Alabama. They're not in smallmouth country. Like
Right.
I always wondered how they're getting away how are they fishing for largemouth bass and not catching smallmouth. Well, this is how.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just don't go that far.
Right.
Not even invasively. It's just like they're not there.
Yeah. I never really thought about that, but I kind of knew that because of like just the sheer size. Like I think if they were down south, they would have way bigger records too, just like the bass did. But I've
Oh,
always
so you're
just
talking about like a record smallmouth?
yeah. But also I've just
Okay.
never really thought about it. Like, which is weird that I've never thought
Yeah.
about it. But it was like I guess I just always just kind of knew it to be a northern thing and like almost more of
Mm.
like a cool water type fish
Mm-hmm.
because they seem to be more active. Like they like rocky, you know? Like I feel like smallmouth and walleyes have just always went hand in hand. Like where you find walleye, you
Mm.
find smallmouth,
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never really given it much thought on it not being in those lakes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting to hear. So now you're talking about like the rivers actually in the Grand Canyon. They're like
Oh,
in it?
yeah, for sure. So, um, it's funny that you keep saying, like a cooler water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, because technically it's a warm water fish. So
Oh,
without going into, but technically, right?
sure.
This is technically. Um, so here's what without getting into more details of like what the articles would say and stuff like that, the smallmouth aren't the only ones that are invasive.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll use this as the example to talk about the temperature difference. In fact, the brown trout is invasive to um, the river. Oh, and I guess I should say I keep saying the river, the Grand Canyon, and stuff like that. We're gonna specifically talk about Lake Powell, basically, and the Colorado River system. That's
Okay.
what we're talking about to lay the land of that um, as we get more into it. So, anyways, trout, brown trout in that river system. Everybody loves them. Yay, trout! We love trout
Yeah.
fishing, right?
Yep.
They're a cold water fish.
Okay.
And so these rivers are cold, snow water, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
The smallmouth are technically a warm water fish. So the brown trout get downstream and they haven't done much damage and anything, they're like introduced and whatever, and it's cool. The smallmouth are getting, so we'll talk about Lake Powell, the Glen Canyon Dam, and this is where the big focus is on invasive smallmouth, because what they're doing is they're getting through now, like they're getting through the turbines.
Okay.
They believe they're getting through the turbines,
Yeah.
and
Just getting lucky. Some of them aren't making it.
right. But here's how it's happening, and here's about the warm water cold water thing, right?
Yeah.
Lake Powell is right now, I looked up current, it's about 140 feet below full.
Okay.
So it's got 140 feet before the reservoir is full again. So it's real fucking low. Like the Colorado River basin is getting worked over.
Okay.
And now they're saying,
Now
they
they're getting
said,
concentrated.
yep. And the surface water is getting closer to the turbines because the turbines are sucking the bottom of the lake, right?
Oh shit. It's like a really long, like freaking suspense movie.
Years worth of them just getting sucked closer and closer to the turbine. It's the longest fucking suspense movie ever.
Every day the fish are just like, oh, for years.
But what they were saying is that it was so cold and so deep. Smallmouth
Yeah.
don't go there because they're a warm water surface fish. So they just wouldn't go down there. It just wasn't a thing. And now they're shrinking down to getting concentrated, and it's warming up, and
Yeah.
some smallmouth are just like, what's that? And that's why they're called a warm water fish, because like the cold water would literally stop them. The basin was so deep, it would get cold and they just wouldn't go down there.
Weird, dude. I guess I never really I just know where to catch smallmouth, but I haven't fished like a lot of went out on a lake and really tried to figure out smallmouth. It's always been like on a river where I'm just casting from the shoreline. So it's never
right.
It's never been like try to find them on this lake. So I've never given it much thought, but I mean, they're a bass like anything else, so, or like all the other bass, I guess.
Sure.
I've just always associated them with the cold water because, like I said, with them being like, it just seems like they were in all the same lakes that a walleye was in. And it seems like they like the same habitat, but possibly just at different time of years, you know?
Yeah. But also don't get that confused. That basin's fucking deep.
Right,
dude.
Right.
That's still cold water that you're catching them in.
Yeah.
They still do come from the Great Lakes, and that's cold water. And they still do hang out in these northern rivers. It's still fucking cold.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
For sure. So like, it's cold.
Dude, is Powell Lake, I was just trying to Google it. Is Powell Lake in the Grand Canyon?
It's Lake Powell.
Lake Powell.
Yeah, so maybe putting in Powell Lake makes it go backwards.
No, I put Lake Powell. I just when I was looking on the map, it's not easy to.
So I actually am not 100% if it's in the Grand Canyon.
Maybe
but
I should just ask that
flows
question.
Like it controls flow into the Grand Canyon.
Oh, okay.
So the Grand Canyon's the hot topic because you can say Grand Canyon, it gets people's attention.
Sure.
And where they're now catching smallies downstream is Grand Canyon territory. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yeah, you can Google it still, and you can answer, and get us the question to that.
Yeah, like how you said, water released from Powell flows into Marble Canyon, then through the Grand Canyon.
There you go.
So it's not there, but it's right there.
Yeah, because they're getting.
Damn it! Anyhow, I hope. Well, if it's feeding the water in there, though, then you would assume that there's still a chance you could catch a smallmouth in the Grand Canyon.
Oh, they were. According to these stories that I watched, or according to these stories, is they're netting fish, and they're doing surveys and stuff like that, and they're netting smallmouth that are technically in the Grand Canyon. The way these were written, if there's somebody out there listening that's like, well, they weren't, it was kind of, you must have just mixed it up. And no, so far, because Lake Powell and the rivers that feed it were fed with smallmouth on purpose.
Okay.
Thinking the dam and the reservoir and everything like that, they wouldn't really get anywhere.
Sure.
And now here we're in like unprecedented drought and human dependency on this water, and it's just draining the shit out of that reservoir, and something that nobody predicted, 80 years ago. I don't know what number it is, but many, many years ago, somebody the people who were stocking it were like, they'll never go past the dam. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, why were you so excited about the Grand Canyon? Like, so far they're netting again. I think there's smallmouth in the Grand Canyon. Limited number. They're trying to take care of it.
I just think that it sounds dope to be able to say that you caught one there. I feel like I was just thinking about it being like Jon Stewart in Half Baked, talking about the $20 bill. Just coming in and just being like, yo, you ever caught a smallmouth bass before? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, you ever caught a smallmouth bass in the Grand Canyon? So what you got to think about it, man. I just think it sounds dope to be able to say like, I caught a smallmouth bass in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Dude.
Yeah. That does sound
super sick. I agree.
Hell yeah. New destination unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to make like a sound bite for that.
Yeah. Gotta have like some steam.
For sure. Remember loot boxes before there were loot boxes and they were just like fun things that happened?
Yeah. I'm thinking of like multiple different video games.
Oh yeah,
Like
me too.
robotic
We're
stuff spinning
blending.
around. Like,
It's probably a
yeah.
combination of like a few RPGs. I know you didn't play a ton of them. Like
Yeah.
probably 3 or 4 different EA big titles.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You remember EA big?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know, like some, and then a combination of other just unlocking things in video games.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one of them was like the WWF video game when it was still WWF with Stone Cold and stuff. Like you'd have like the beginning matches, it'd just be like this real mechanically just
that's yeah. I don't know the exact screen you're talking about, but I remember that like really industrial time.
Yeah,
it was very industrial, like because you could put sparks in it and like,
yeah, exactly.
You could animate that way really easy, and you just put some sound effects on it. And it looks super dope.
Yes,
and they were going for that industrial feel too. That was the badass era and shit like that.
It was like
right?
one of the cooler things that like transferred over well. Like you didn't have to make a really detailed thing, and then you could just put the mapping of like metal on it. You're like, oh my god, it looks so real.
Right. Yep. It's just a flat it's like one polygon.
Yeah, yeah.
A one polygon rectangle.
But the shiny metal map picture gives it like depth. You're like, oh,
yep.
That metal looks like real metal. Until you get close and it's just a square.
Yep.
Even your body was all square back then. I remember those early WWF games where you're walking around and you look like, I remember, I see memes about it all the time now. Like seeing it back in the day, like, I can make my character. Doesn't that kind of look like me? Now you see like the picture and you're like, holy shit, that looks nothing like anybody.
That doesn't look like humans.
It looks like the Roblox.
Yeah.
Oh, but for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe you just got a good imagination when you're a kid because the kids love Roblox. And I'm like, oh, such a step backwards. I don't get it. All we cared about back then was like, look at how goddamn real this looks. And every time it gets better. And now it's the most realistic shit you've ever seen. And the kids are obsessed with the worst graphics out of any video game.
Minecraft and Roblox. Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's crazy, dude. It's so weird.
Who would have thought that would have been the old man shit that we're talking? These kids today.
Oh, I know.
I don't get them
Never
with their shit graphics.
These kids and their video games and their shitty graphics.
When I was a kid, we played those kind of games not by choice, but because we had to.
Okay, so I'm gonna do one thing here, and then this is gonna lead into I got questions.
All right,
for you.
Yeah.
So these smallmouth that are making it downriver, they're worried. Mm-hmm. The reason why they're worried is because there's a protected, essentially minnow.
Okay.
It's called the humpback chub.
Ooh, yeah.
Good name.
Hell yeah.
So the humpback chub is basically a minnow. They can get up to 1.5 and up to 2 pounds. Mm-hmm. But that's like the biggest one.
Up to 2 pounds. God damn.
Yeah, I know. A 2-pound minnow? You'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we got chubs around here, like creek chubs and stuff, but I don't think they get anywhere near that.
But that's we're talking, that's a big one, right?
Right.
We're talking chubs is normal. I think what you're saying, because it's just a minnow fish. Really, in the end.
Yeah.
So they've just been taken off the endangered species and upgraded to, oh fuck, what is that now? Endangered
Snacks.
to threatened.
Oh, okay. I said snacks.
So they've been on the endangered species list for quite a while. Just recently, here in the last few years, they got moved up to threatened. But now they're literally being threatened by a smallmouth.
Yeah.
One of the most voracious eaters.
Hell yeah.
Tim, you got to have some info on that, like some firsthand shit, because you talk about that. How aggressive they are in general,
yeah,
right? Like so that translates into what they're eating.
They're aggressive as hell when they want to eat, but they're moody too. So sometimes they're like, nah, I'm not eating shit today. But other times they're just like, I'm gonna fuck up anything that moves. So I guess it's just like it like ebbs and flows with them guys. They just kind of do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. It's not like some of like the true invasive species problems where they're just like, like a lionfish where it's like, oh, they eat 20 times their weight every day.
Yeah. In a day or whatever.
It's not necessarily like that where it's like the moon is the right phase or whatever. And that smallmouth is like, I'm just feeling real snacky today,
Real snacky.
They're just out there gobbling them up. But I mean, literally, so my real world experience with smallmouth is I've gone to a spot in the river and taken casts with lures that normally work and hit like one or two fish. Just been like, damn, this is like, today wasn't my day. I mean, I caught some fish, but I thought it would be better. And I've gone to that exact same spot, no joke, with the moon phases. I know sometimes people are just like, does that really work? Like, try it. Keep a log, look at the moon phases. I'm not saying it works every time, but that time,
but there's something to it.
It was during the peak time, and I'm not kidding. I caught a smallmouth every single cast. Every single smallmouth in that stretch of water hit my lure every single time they saw it.
That's crazy, dude.
And it was for like 15, 20 casts straight. It was just, I couldn't believe it. Every time I would cast in, I'm like, no way. So in that part of the river, there's like a lot of shit that you can get snagged on.
Oh, okay.
And half of the time I'd be like, oh, there it is. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. I'm snagged. Nope, this is a fish again.
Oh my God.
I couldn't.
Dude.
It's nuts. I've had a couple moments like that in my life where it's just every cast and you just go, holy shit. The smallmouth one was fun. The northerns on the lake I fish all the time, that one got old. I was just like, another goddamn stupid ass
slimy bastards. Get out of here.
Well, and there was like none of any size. If they would have been big, it would have been different. But it was small northern after small northern.
Just tiny little guys. Yeah.
It was cool for like the first 5 or 10. Then after that, it was like, what the fuck? How is there no other fish hitting this?
Well, so those smalls that you're out there, you're hitting brownsies every time. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Are they decent size or like
some?
Okay. But they're aggressive nonetheless, right?
All of them.
Even the smaller ones, they're like smashing and fucking running, right? Because that's what everybody says
exactly.
about smallmouths.
Hitting it. When they fight like hell, dude. Pound for pound, I think they've got to be the best fighting fish, like in our state. Some of the ocean fish are a different breed. They're like built
There's
for
no
speed.
Doubt about that.
It's just
Marlins.
different. Well, I mean, even like some of the smaller fish.
Yeah,
you see guys out there just.
Like, I was going extreme, but I got you. Yeah, sorry.
It's fine. But like they're just giving them a fight, dude. Just not giving up, and then you see them land it, and you're like, that was what was fighting like that. That's crazy. But the smallmouth are just little tanks, and in the river. They know how to use the current. So when it's a smaller fish feels like it's bigger when it's in the river because they're using the current to their advantage.
Right.
Yeah. It's a blast.
And that's why this is such a problem, right? With the Glen Canyon Dam. It's turned a river into a lake. These smallmouth are great in rivers. Everything you've been talking about with smallmouth so far has been, except for in the beginning,
Yeah.
is just like river, river, river.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see the invasive where they've spread,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say they're invasive because they're not invasive everywhere they've spread to, right?
Right.
They've been introduced out west for the reason why any of this ends up happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why there's walleyes stocked everywhere and the reason why there's largemouth everywhere, angling, like you stock them because they're fun, brings people in, boosts the economy, that economy boosts conservation, like it's a cycle. So they don't all do damage, but there was one article that said the smallmouth getting this far down the river, not only endangering this, this humpback chub and that, but they're so aggressive and they're so adaptable
Yeah.
in this environment that they're more worried about them than Asian carp.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, I could
Right?
see that because the Asian carp are just gonna fuck up your water because the Asian carp don't eat that. They're like bottom feeders that aren't
right.
chasing the minnows.
Right.
So I could see that because an Asian carp is just gonna like fuck up your waterway and start munching on vegetation and screw things up that way.
Right. Right.
So I could see that where you have like a ferocious predator versus a big dumb cow,
Yeah, dude. Well put.
Yeah.
That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, because they, again, ferocious. You use the word. They are.
Yeah.
They're
sure.
crazy.
They are.
They really go to it.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So, shit. I lost my train of thought there. Oh, okay. So the Grand Canyon is such a hot spot, I think, because of two things. Is one, it's the Grand Canyon, right? Like I said earlier, hot topic. Good word to use to get, drum up support and stuff like that and get attention.
Right.
But also it is a place, I mean, the Grand Canyon in general, right, is a place that is trying to, humans are trying to preserve as best we can.
Yeah.
And so that's the other reason is they're just afraid these super aggressive little fuckers are going to come in and just, take out this native fish that's been there, and they're just going to go and fuck shit up. The National Park Service, so that's kind of where I was leading with this, is the National Park Service, this is a quote I pulled straight from an article. Please remove the fish. They're talking about smallmouth. Please remove the fish, put on ice, and contact staff at the Glen Canyon Recreational Area or Grand Canyon National Park with a description of the location where it was found. So see there, that's like, the Grand Canyon Park Service is involved in that. And then where I found that, they had email addresses and links to contact them and everything. I was like, oh, they're not fucking around.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I suppose that's, what else are you supposed to do? Be like,
yeah,
put out a
bounty,
brain farting, more of just like a PSA, like a public service announcement, like,
yeah,
yep. attention, everybody,
right.
Yeah.
Smallmouth are invasive in this area.
extra.
Just cracked you up for some reason.
What? Oh, my brain just started trying to put together like just making it like putting together everything because it all does sound a little bit funny. And just putting together a headline that This isn't. It needs some workshopping. Don't. But just,
but let's hear it.
extra, extra. Gaping hole has many chubs being devoured by small mouths.
That was good though.
People,
That was good for just like right off the top. I don't know. I don't even know if that needs work.
Everybody be like, "What the fuck?
What?
Buy 2 of those newspapers."
Buy 2 of them. Oh shit. Okay. Well, before we wrap up, I want to say 2 things. Is like, yeah, I've talked about invasive species on here all the time because I really do feel like that's hard work to do. It's hard work to track and take care of. And like,
Yeah.
I like to make it aware. It's like, hey, invasive species are like a problem. And you can have luck sometimes where you have like the peacock bass in Florida where you just bring them up here and shit, it worked out.
Right.
And then you can have like what is obviously going to turn into a bad situation if it continues, where these aggressive predators, the smallmouth, get loose into an area that is not used to having an aggressive predator. Right.
Yep.
Or like the lionfish. What up, Tony? Our buddy Tony. He's always on top of those because they're down in Florida. The lionfish are thriving because they have no fucking predators.
And
like there's nothing eating them, so they're just running them
space. It's not like you could really like corner them or try to do anything. It's like they're in the fucking ocean. So they just do whatever they want.
Right.
And there's plenty of fish for them to eat. You know, there's no shortage of food for them to munch on.
Right. Yeah. So it's just success.
It's crazy. And then
which is what they're worried about here is that, you know,
if you
the largemouth would have such great, the smallmouth would just have great success. And that is going to cause all of the other fish there, the bait fish essentially in that area, to suffer real bad.
Hell yeah.
When they're already hurting.
For sure. And who knows what happens if they start decimating them. Then what do? They move on to something else? Or they start just cannibalizing each other?
Right.
Could be. Who knows? At a certain point, I think they get desperate and they try to find some sort of a food source. Do they end up traveling to further downstream?
Yeah, to keep going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? I don't know what happens from there.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing to think of what could be if the problem isn't solved. I mean, like maybe the solution is trying to net all the chubby dubbers. What was it? The
humpback chub.
The humpback chub. I knew it was a chub, and I was like, "What the friggin' humpback chub?" Maybe you try to move those someplace, or get some. You know, try to do what you can to relocate them into an area that would make more sense for them, and then introduce other bait fish into this water to be like, we need to give more bait, you know, to the, I don't know. I have no idea what, if any.
We're not the scientists out there in the field.
But I've honestly,
I like you're just like hypothesizing armchair quarterback situation. Like, hey, why not? I mean, we're just talking here.
Yeah. Who knows? You want to save one fish, throw another fish in the mix. I don't know. But I honestly don't know if that's even a thing. Is there food source like conservation methods? Like, are they like, we're stocking this, we need to introduce this kind of food? I shouldn't. Now that I say is there, I do know that like on Chaminade where I fished, they did stock tullaby for a little while for the sole purpose of having another food source for the muskies.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at least for the big fish, but I don't know if they're like literally putting a bunch of minnows in the water But there's also weird shit like when you buy minnows from a bait shop, you're not supposed to dump those in the lake when you're done with them.
Right.
You're supposed to take it to the shore, dump them out, and then just look at them like you're going to die.
I was going to say, this is where you die.
This is where you would die.
Them.
If you're lucky, you'll just do this for a while and it will be over. If you're unlucky, a critter comes and finds you. And then you just, you
died getting chomped up.
Yeah. Hopefully. What everybody says and what I believe, that you're not smart enough to have pain receptors. You're not developed enough that you don't really feel it.
Right.
So, I mean.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I did not know that like the Minnesota DNR did that. It's interesting to hear in relation to like an invasive species. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Or you can, you don't have to dump them at the shoreline. If you got a garden too, you can make good use of them. Bring your shit home, just like the carps and stuff, and make it into your fertilizer or whatever.
Make it into fertilizer. Yep. Make that fish liqueur we've talked about before.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Get on that.
So last thing before we wrap up, because you have more on-hands experience, obviously you're talking about, and makes me curious. And this is why I said, this is going to come back.
All right.
You said in the beginning, you looked in there and you're like, this is a rock bass, because you were assuming it was a rock bass because rock bass live in the lake.
Right.
Where you fish.
Yes.
Every rock bass that I've ever seen you catch, or I've ever seen in your lake while fishing with you, has red eyes.
Yes.
The fucking images that I saw while doing research for this episode.
Yes.
These smallmouth in the Grand Canyon, we'll say, in this river system, they had red eyes.
Yeah, they're very similarly colored. I think that's why.
I don't know if I've ever seen. Do smallmouth have red eyes? I didn't think they did.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's like the body color too is like very similar. They're both like a brownish, like some are darker than others. That's why one of the nicknames for a smallmouth is a bronze back.
Right.
Because they're like that kind of bronze color. They're definitely prettier in every way than
a rock bass.
The rock bass are fucking ugly, dude. But yeah, the eyes are different. I can't really tell you but like almost like when you catch a rock bass, you look at the red eyes and you're kind of just like, you look like you're up to something, dude. But the smallmouth, when you catch them and they got the red eyes, it's something about them. Like, I don't know if I just like them more in general, but if I catch a good sized smallmouth that has like no blemishes on it, it's just like, God, look at you. You're a pretty fish. Like some of them are like a little bit more on the green side. Some of them are more brown.
Yep.
Some of them are like that perfect bronze, but they look good. They're a good looking fish. And then you got the rock bass, dude. Half of the rock bass have like some sort of a fungal issue where I'm like, I don't even want to fucking touch you, dude.
Just want to kind of shake the hook until it falls out. On this one.
Like I'll grab them by the mouth because like the fungal is like on the side a lot, but every time it's like about to flop, I'm like, oh, don't get it on me, dude. Like I don't shy away from the fish, but like sometimes I see the pictures where they're like holding it up in their hands like close to like a piece of fungus. I'm like, oh, it's like right there, dude. Don't touch it.
Ew, you're gonna fucking Last of Us.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what that mushroom is growing on that fish, but don't try to get it on you, dude. Oh shit, it's like a Surteps or something. No, I can't think of it. There's like a specific mushroom that the cordyceps, I think is what it's called. That's the same kind of mushroom in The Last of Us that actually does zombify things in real life.
Things, yeah.
Not people. We're above
it does,
that currently.
Bugs. I think there's specifically there's a lot of bugs that they get.
I know that there's one for like spiders and stuff, But
and that's why
it directs
cortisone
the ship
10 to get the fungus off your feet.
Yeah, exactly. You having that stuff? Boom! Tough factor tonight.
And speaking of sports, dude, that's what our random take is going to be about. We are going to talk about sports in VR. I think invasive smallmouth, it's a real thing. And we'll end on that note. Like, it's just really interesting for two people in Minnesota who just been around smallmouth to hear the word invasive smallmouth, the words invasive smallmouth. And hey, got to talk about it. Want to talk about it.
Right. For sure. Yeah. I thought it was going to be something like a long, long time ago.
I know.
They were brought over here.
I had similar anticipations, and it was just like, oh, okay. Well, this makes sense then.
Right. Yeah. It's cool to hear that you can have an invasive species like just from a couple lakes over almost, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't have to be that far. I never really thought about it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of opened my eyes to that too. Is like, think about, we're so connected in the United States. You just use use the interstate system as the example, right?
Right.
Like, it's just so easy. You're like, I'm going to drive to Arizona. You're like, that's like thousands of miles away. And you're like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to drive there. I don't know. Fucking easy.
Right.
Just look.
Right. Yeah.
There it is. Takes like 2 days. Not a big deal. And that there's little ecosystems all over the place. And like your example, there are no smallmouths that are supposed to be in this lake, but they're native to the area. So technically they were invasive to your lake until it was like, oh, they're going to be fine.
Yeah. Which is very, very similar to like what is happening there in the like, cause I feel like if, I know that lake so well that other people wouldn't find it to be weird. Where I feel like that would be the same thing for us. Like if we went to like the Grand Canyon and we caught a smallmouth, just be like, oh yeah, shit, I didn't know there weren't smallmouth here. And people would be like, it's invasive. I'd be like, what do you mean they're from here? And they'd just be like, not from here.
Right.
From over there.
From up above the dam. And you'd be like,
over there.
Oh. Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the same thing on my lake. Like I catch a smallmouth, I go, what the fuck is a smallmouth doing here? And other people would be like, the fuck, you never seen a smallmouth before? I'd be like, no, they're just not here. They're on the lakes over there in that river, not too far away. I mean, I've caught them, but here, no. There, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that is crazy to think. But I don't know if it would even be considered like on my lake. It's not considered invasive, I'm sure, because it's in the area of like where it's normal to have them.
Right.
Even though I feel like it's technically invasive because they weren't a thing. But now I suppose you just got to get that designation from the DNR or whatever.
Yep. I totally think that's what it is too.
Where I tell them, hey, weird catch. And they're just like, whatever. And then somebody goes, hey, we got him in the Grand Canyon too. And then they just go, illegal, and stamp it.
Yep, for sure. All right, man. You ready to talk about some sports in VR? Because I am.
I'm ready, dude.
Yeah.
I just found some of this stuff. I'm so pumped.
Fuck yes. We'll get into it. Yep. All right. Fuck it. Hit the break.